What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, this is Overlanding Now, and today we're going to be working on installing the trigger system on the Ram Power Wagon. If you're not familiar with the trigger system, I have to say, I put this on the Subaru Outback Wilderness, and it is hands down one of my favorite controller systems. It has a integrated remote that Bluetooths to the actual unit that allows you to turn on and off all of your accessory lights, off-road lights, refrigerators, compressors, whatever it is that you want to have wired, but you do not have to run any wires through the firewall to get this Bluetooth controller inside. It's just a simple piece of equipment. It has not given me a single issue on the Outback Wilderness, and we've had that on for almost a year now. So I decided for the Ram Power Wagon, I wanted to go with the trigger. Again, this is the trigger 6-shooter, so it has 6 spaces for 6 different components. I am going to add my compressor. We're going to do off-road lights. We're going to do lights coming off the rack on the side, and a whole host of other things, and this is what I'm going to use to do it with. So today I'm going to show you how to install that on your vehicle. Super simple, one of the easiest installs I've ever done. It should take me about 20 minutes. And then we're gonna start running lights and running the compressor and try to get everything situated before I add this drawer system to the back of the Power Wagon. The thing I keep mentioning, that I'm gonna keep mentioning for a little bit, especially if you drive a Power Wagon or a big truck, is the Upside app. It's free cash back on every gallon of gas that you put inside your vehicle. And if you drive something this big, you probably need cash back on gas. No affiliation, I don't get paid to say that, but anytime I can bring something to you that makes sense for your vehicle, I'm going to do that because I started using it and I'm getting free money and I'm spending it regardless. So let's get into installing the trigger 6-shooter on the 2022 Ram Power Wagon. Alright, so in the box you receive some things that I'm probably not going to use. Your switch, and then this right here is the control module itself. And this is what goes underneath the hood. And what I do is I use double-sided Velcro on this portion right here and stick this to the top of my fuse box. I did the same thing on the Outback Wilderness. Haven't had any issues. I just prefer not to having to drill through my fuse box. You have 2 powers. Both go to the positive terminal. 1 negative goes to the negative terminal. Here are your inlets, and then it comes with a matching set for your actual piece of equipment itself. You just plug these into each other, and then it is automatically paired and connected with your remote device. And this remote device works about 15 feet away from the module, depending upon what type of interference you have. So let's get started, get the hood popped, and try to get this thing situated and wired up so we can start running some lights. So what I always use, well, I use this for everything, but what I'm going to be using for this is this heavy-duty double-sided Velcro. I will put a link in the description for that if you want to pick that up, or if you plan on drilling through your fuse box, that's totally fine by me. I just prefer to never drill through my fuse box. So you just take this plastic cover off, and then you get your shears, and you kind of just, for this specific piece of equipment, I'm probably going to need to add 2 strips because it has a little indentation here and it doesn't allow you, it's not going to stick to the fuse box very well unless you put two pieces on here. So technically 4 pieces. There's the soft side, there's the other side. Put that down and then you build it up and do it again, and I have not had any issues doing it that way on the Subaru Outback Wilderness. So I'm just going to get these cut and get all of this stuff together. All right, so I'm not sure if you can see the fuse box that's down here. Here's the battery. And what I'm gonna do is, because I want these to be accessible, but I don't want them to be down in the engine compartment. So I think I'm going to have my positive and negative leads coming off, going over to the positive and the negative terminal. So one thing I ran into on the Outback Wilderness was the fact that I was unable, well, not unable, it was just more difficult for me to get my positive and negative attached because of the way I had it orientated. So I'm going to play with that a little bit before I put this down, but I think right there is the good spot. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, each one of these independently controlled switches has its own fuse. You have two 30s, two 10, and two 5 amp fuses on the trigger system. So your larger components and the things that are going to require more power, you're going to want to have the 30 amp on the 30 amp fuse circuit, as well as the smaller ones 10 and even smaller the 5. A lot of your off-road lights, depending on the size, draw a very low amount of amps. So you can typically use the 5 on any type of small LED off-road light. And anything, compressor, refrigerators, you want to bump up, but just check the specs of your specific electrical component that you're trying to wire to this. So I'm going to get this kind of mocked up, get the terminals put on the power and the ground, and then get everything wired up and start putting some lights on here in the next couple days. So with the trigger system fastened, and it's fastened, that double-sided Velcro is literally one of my favorite tools that I use. We are going to attach these leads. Remember that bag I said at the very beginning that you don't need? You need them because it has your terminal connectors. So I'm going to get this out of here, and everything, the wire's already pre-stripped, or the plastic around the wire is already pre-stripped, so you can kind of set that to the side. Now, one thing that I always forget to do is to put the terminal covers on prior, and then I just never put them on. So I'm going to put those on, get these fastened on there, and then I'm going to do the same with the black, or the negative wire, get those crimped, and then start taking the battery apart so I can get everything connected. One thing I learned before that I never want to have to learn the hard way again is to disconnect your battery prior to trying to install any of these components. I shorted out the entire Subaru and had to have it towed in. I failed to mention that part before, but everyone makes mistakes. So I'm going to take this negative terminal off, and then I'm going to get everything situated. On the trigger system, I think I might have mentioned this, the yellow and the red both go to the power. This is actually accessory power, but I'm just going to put this directly with the power wire. It's what I did on my Subaru, so it's always powered up and able to receive information from the controller itself. Okay, just like that, the trigger system is ready to go. Now, I have all of my leads here. What I'll do is probably zip tie them all together and then maybe zip tie them there just to keep them out of the way so they're not bouncing around, getting water in them. And then this positive cover on the battery, what I'll do is I'll just cut that rubber piece up a little bit so it sits flush around those two wires. And then from that point, this thing is now ready to be used. So now that I got the trigger system installed, I'm going to work on getting some lights installed, and that's it. This thing is done. It's literally that simple. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, blah, 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 all that good stuff. I'm going to get back to working out my light system and figuring out where I'm going to put everything, and that's going to be the rest of my day. So appreciate you guys for watching, and have a good one.